All In Sports Network. We love sports.
Hello, everybody. Ben Peck here, All In Aggies. It is Tuesday, September 10th, debate night in America. We're going to be debating some topics around Texas A&M football and touch a little bit on A&M soccer as well. Hello, and thanks for joining us. And once again, if you haven't already, please subscribe, comment, like, let us know what you like about this show, what you want to see. We're just building it. We're about a couple weeks in here. Actually, Wednesday will be the 2-week mark. So thank you so much for those who've helped support this channel and help make it be the best thing that we can make it be moving forward. All right, let's get right to business. Somewhat of maybe an abbreviated show this evening. Got a couple topics we want to touch on. And first, before we look all the way ahead to Florida, do want to look back a little bit more on the game against McNeese State. Couple things stood out, when we went through the pecking order of the 5 things I wanted to see. One of them was the offensive line dominating. They certainly did that, especially in terms of establishing the run that you would expect them to against McNeese State. That's not necessarily like you don't get a bunch of flowers or, you get a cookie for that. Congratulations. You did what you're supposed to do. That being said, we've seen, just look at last weekend, Notre Dame, yikes. We've seen a lot of teams that don't handle their business the way they're supposed to. So check that box. Connor Wigman, interesting the way the statistics broke down. I know a lot of people saw the Pro Football Focus grade went from the best in the country or the worst in the country against Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken, to the best, the most efficient in the country against McNeese State. Final numbers, 11 for 14. 125, 2 touchdowns, 4 rushes for 39 yards, really 3 rushes for 40 yards if you take out a 1-yard loss. And, he was pretty mobile there. He played a little less than a half. So all in all, obviously can't complain too much. The only thing that is kind of something I think we do need to accept is what this offense is going to be and just what it might, how the scheme might work out. I don't know that we're going to see Texas A&M this year be a team that averages, 275 yards per game, similar to what they did last year. It's just not how Colin Klein, I think, operates. It's not how I think Mike Elko wants this thing to work when the team's playing complementary football. I think he wants you to suffocate you on defense. You give the ball back and you're not going to see it for a while. I think that's the plan. Not that, we'd all love to see anything up tempo per se. I don't think anyone's asking for that necessarily. But like I said last week, it's kind of a comfort level thing where it's nice to know you have in your back pocket if you do fall behind, like Texas A&M was against Notre Dame. If you need to go drive down the field somewhat quickly and pick up chunk plays, you can. Still, the chunk plays are somewhat missing in the passing game. Marcel Reed hit, I believe it was Cyrus Allen on a 31-yard basically slant, and Connor Wigman had a 20-yard completion as his long. I'm not sure if that was the touchdown. No, that was actually to Moose. That was another catch and run. I was going to say the touchdown he had to Noah Thomas was probably, I think it was something like 15 yards. That was probably the farthest downfield pass he's completed this season, which is okay. It's not, I don't want to say it's not great because, again, you work with what you're given to work with, but maybe just something to bookmark and keep in mind. But I don't think, like I said, I don't think the way Colin Klein runs his offense, that's going to be the MO of the Aggies this year. Maybe it's just a shame given the extent and the belief that you have in Connor Wigman, and more importantly, just long-term, the ability for Texas A&M to recruit like elite level skill guys at both quarterback and wide receiver. Now, is this something where Texas A&M adapts to the talent they have and they say, hey, listen, like maybe pass protection's a little iffy. I thought it was okay against Notre Dame. Obviously, McNeese State, I don't know what you get out of the McNeese State game in terms of evaluating that. But maybe you say, our better chance is to run the ball. We've got pretty competent running backs, 3 pretty good ones back there, even with Reuben Owens being out. let's just kind of lean on that defense. And maybe one year, if we have all these crazy skilled wide receivers and, quarterback that's not coming off an injury, we can open that up a little bit more. The only fear I have in that is it like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Is it harder to get guys in the program attracted to that style of play if everyone thinks this is primarily a run-based offense? Maybe that's the only thing I worry about a little bit, but I think Texas A&M probably strong enough as a program that you could still pull in. Like, most important thing, you got to win, right? That's priority A, B, and C. So if it works, it works. And like I said, you can't really argue with the efficiency on Saturday. Granted, it was McNeese State, 11 for 14. Marcel Reed came in 5 for 11, 71 yards, had the 31-yarder, as we mentioned, to Cyrus Allen. 7 rushes for 43 yards. I think he definitely offers you more in that department than Connor. Coach Mike Elko talked about it after the game. Said you see what they like in him, but you also see where he still needs to get some stuff done. I thought it was interesting that they threw him out there, I believe, late in the first half when they still had the rest of the first team offense, from what I can tell out there. They did give extended reps and looks to basically the second team onwards for the rest of the game. But in that first half, you did see Marcel Reed for, I believe, a drive or two. So I thought that was interesting that they went with that. And if you're clicking on this title of the video now, not to bury the lead any further, we saw Moose Muhammad a little bit. Pretty non-existent in the game against Notre Dame, but we saw him start to get a little more looks, some more action. He only had the 2 catches, 2 for 23 with the touchdown, but they were both pretty notable. Like I said, the first one was the longest completion of the day for Connor Wigman, 20 yards, and then a 3-yard touchdown. Can't ever argue with the touchdown, no matter how long or short it is. But I asked Mike Elko about that after the game, about how we saw Moose Muhammad get involved. This is kind of what he said. And after that, we'll hear what Connor Wigman talked about, not just with Moose Muhammad, but maybe increasing the amount of wide receivers getting involved and really figuring out everything you have to work with in your toolkit. Obviously, Terry Bussey, the long run at the end as well as an offensive weapon. So, again, this is going to be Mike Elko talking about what he saw from that and what Connor Wigman saw from the other receivers.
Yeah, I think he had a much better week of preparation. I think that was good to see. Obviously, he didn't get to get in a ton last week, and we challenged him to do the things he needed to do to put himself in position to have a successful game. And I think he did that starting on Monday. He had a really good week of preparation. We felt really confident that he was going to be able to go out there and execute what we wanted him to. And when he does that and he's consistent, he can help us. And so he did that today.
I think we had 10, 11, 12 guys, receivers-wise, were able to touch the football this week. And, I mean, if you're able to spread the ball around like that, I mean, it helps a lot just being able to get the ball in different guys' hands, different skill sets, and being able to utilize all of them. It's going to help us a lot.
All right. So sorry for the delay. I was looking at my clips, and I couldn't find where that one was. But, yeah, Connor, as he mentioned, got a little bit more people involved, and obviously it helped having the lead, being able to throw out those second-team guys. Actually, I'm going to go down the list here, just look at in terms of guys who made a reception. You had Cyrus Allen, Noah Thomas, Moose Muhammad, Isaiah Williams, Shane Calhoun, Jacob Bostic, Trey Watson, Theo, and Ashton Bethel Roman. And then Terry Bussey had, I believe, maybe a target, but then he had obviously the jet sweep. It wasn't a pop pass, so technically not a reception, but could have been pretty easily if they wanted to. So there you go. Look, Moose Muhammad is a guy that I think Carter Carls at Gig'em247 says it like every time he goes in, he just seems, not all the time, it's not like every single game he's going off, but he does seem like he gives you a lot of bang for your buck when you do put him on the field. Thought it was interesting. Coach Elko talking about the challenge they presented him, the preparation. Like, let us see this in practice. Take your preparation seriously. You'll see the field. You'll get rewarded. We'll see if this may be a turning point. If, and again, I know it was only 2 catches for 23 yards and a touchdown, but it was something, right? And it wasn't just Moose coming in when the game was wrapped up and everything else was settled down. This was Moose really getting, involved early. He also had the moment where he smacked the guy in the face after that dude took not really a cheap shot, I guess. I mean, just kind of like a annoying little play. It wasn't like a massive hit or anything, but that was amusing. I couldn't tell what was happening. I just heard like a flag, 15-yard penalty, but and then I saw the replay. I was like, oh, okay. I think just like everybody, like that makes sense. Can't do that, but also I get it. So Moose Muhammad getting a little involved, and now we're going to switch over to the defensive side. But before we do, I want to remind you, if you like the show so far, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share it with people. Like, your support affects our ability to do this, our ability to do this well. The more elements we could add to it, the more guests. If we want to have interesting conversation with big name people and just, interesting people, national and from, other opposing teams and such, obviously the bigger the show is, the more it helps us kind of get the, I don't want to say the clout, but the credibility to have people want to join us and do that. So all the support you can give us, much appreciated. And, we're still, like I said, we're 2 weeks into the show. We're growing. We're getting a feel for everything. It's going to get better. I promise you. Not to say, I hope you're enjoying it right now, but if you like it now, I mean, think of where the show's going to be in the next coming months, coming weeks, even. I think you'll really enjoy it. So buckle up, ring the bell if you like to do that thing to get notified for every video that we have, and tell a friend. All right, now let's talk about this defense. Against McNeese State, the good, the bad. I suppose if you want to nitpick, the run defense, still a problem. 180 yards rushing on 38 attempts. Still no sacks by my count. And that is something Coach Elko talked about it on Monday. He said, on one hand, the sacks alone don't really concern him. He thinks that will come with time. That is probably, by the way he talked about it, by his estimation, maybe an overrated factor. The pressure rate is there. They had the pick from, I believe it was Trey Ratcliffe, who had the interception off of basically the pressure that Marcus Ratcliffe, excuse me. I'm thinking Trey Jones. Marcus Ratcliffe, who had the interception basically off the pocket collapsing. So they are getting to the quarterback. They are affecting the quarterback. Elko talked about how Riley Leonard, tough guy to bring down. So that's maybe a little excusable in terms of, you want to get him off his spot, but maybe you can't quite bring him down, but you're still affecting the play. That's maybe the top line thing. The other thing he pointed out, as we get back to the rush defense, Mike Elko said, if point blank, not good enough right now, not where it needs to be. 180 yards on, like I said, 38 carries. That's, that rate against opponent like that. If you carry that over and translate it to a better quality opponent, SEC quality opponent, as the Aggies have on Saturday with Florida, doesn't necessarily translate well. That being said, I think it's important to point out in that second half, the Aggies did, of course, bring in basically their entire second unit and replace the entire starters out of there. So I think that's worth noting. I'll see if I can by the time we do this, a breakdown of what the first half stats were based off the run. I don't think I'm going to be able to have it, but I'd be interested to see how much of that came in the second half for McNeese State. But as we focus on defense, interesting dynamic this week playing Florida. I don't think in the grand scheme of things from like a coaching perspective or standpoint, as you'll hear Mike Elko describe, I don't really think it makes that much of a difference, to be honest. But you do have 2 former Florida players, Gators, on the defensive side, Scooby Williams, Jaden Hill, and Jay Bateman, defensive coordinator, along with Sean Spencer, defensive line coach. All 4 of them came from Florida. And also, if you're curious, that defensive coordinator at Florida is still there. So it's not like the Gators did this upheaval. Maybe it should have, but they did this upheaval with their defensive coaching staff, and they, had all this turnover. Austin Armstrong is the defensive coordinator over there. That didn't happen, but so I guess I say that to say the familiarity with each other in terms of what both people want to do, what Jay Bateman might like to do or want to do or carry over from that Florida defense, and what they still do over there, that still exists. So, but when I asked Elko about this, I almost just wanted to act like, is this totally overrated and just a manufacturer talking point that we could look at and no big deal? And you coaches don't even blink twice, especially in today's age where there's so much not only coach movement as there always has been, but player movement. You'll hear his response, but I think before that, we're going to get to Shamar Stewart in this soundbite. He, I think, touches on the more interesting part of the kind of not even those guys specifically, the players with Scooby Williams and Jaden Hill, but the other players wanting to rally around their teammates and their new coaches and put on for them a good performance to help them kind of to help their new teammates get back at their old school. I think that's maybe the more relevant way this all plays out. But this is Shamar Stewart touching on that dynamic, and then Mike Elko discussing what that's like from a coaching perspective.
Oh man, it's a great honor to go against a team you were once on and beat them. It kind of reminds me of the last 2 years when we played Ole Miss with Coach Dirk. Coach Dirk always had a little craziness to him when we played Ole Miss, and I'm getting the same vibe of all 4 of them. They're excited to go back to the swamp and hopefully bring this one home. For how long has it been since we won our away game? 3 years. To bring this one home after 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps when you have some guys that have familiarity with the team that you're playing against. It provides some insight into personnel, players, those types of things. But we've all been coaching for a really long time, and so it's not the first time, I'm sure, that Coach Napier has had to coach against somebody who was on his staff before. And so we all kind of identify how to make the necessary adjustments to get ready for games like that. And so I think there's an advantage from knowledge standpoint. I don't know how much that really plays out on Saturday one way or the other.
Totally agree with Mike Elko at the end there. That's kind of what I was alluding to. I need to stop discussing these clips so much before the fact. Again, this is my first time doing this sort of thing, so I'm kind of getting into my own flow and just kind of let you hear from them first before I get into it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, they deal with this all the time. It's not, and I also think there's an element, and this is kind of how I phrased my question to Mike Elko, of I think in general, sometimes I know that they guard the game plan and we try to respect that, and everyone's mindful of that when they're asking these questions and giving these answers, that there's only so much they can give away and so much they can do. But at a certain point, I think there's so much data and information out there now that we all know what everyone does. We know, what teams lean on, what they do, what their strengths are. I was trying to think of analogies. I mean, we know that Steph Curry's three-point shooting ability and ability to get shots off is going to be a big part of how the Warriors run their offense, or the old 49ers, or the Ravens, they're going to try to run the ball and use Lamar Jackson's ability to hurt you with his arms. And it's like at a certain point, there's no secrets in this. It's just kind of line them up. We all know what to expect. We know what you're going to try to do. We know your strength. We know Texas A&M is going to try to lean on defensive line and either, rush forward and get home with them and drop people back, or, bring an extra guy and make it darn near impossible. So we know that. But I thought it was interesting, Shamar Stewart talking about, as you heard there, kind of helping them get back at their former team with all those 4 guys, those 2 coaches, 2 players. And a shout out DJ Durkin, by the way, apparently really getting motivated to play Ole Miss. Didn't come to fruition either time, although had a chance last year in Oxford, but alas, that is an old era now. I can't remember actually where DJ Durkin ended up. I want to say, is he at Auburn now? I think that's the case, but yes, defensive coordinator at Auburn. So I don't know. Interesting there. By the way, you heard Shamar Stewart mention at the very, very end, we'll try to bring back this road win for the first time. And how long has it been? 3 years at Missouri when Isaiah Spiller went off, I believe. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show, about the struggle with the road games, about what the team had to say about it, the players, the coaches. And by the way, I'm going to try to squeeze in. Didn't get to come on here Monday, so I'm going to try to give you double the content on either Wednesday or Thursday to make up for it, because we do want to give you the content you deserve and have you coming back. So kind of a make good on our end that we're going to do moving forward. All right. Now let's turn our attention to just some news and notes to finish up the week. By the way, again, if you haven't already, subscribe, like. Ben Peck here with All In Aggies. Tell a friend. We're just getting started, and we're just getting kicking. We're starting to get a couple comments on our videos. That was something we asked for. Because, listen, with the comments, if you engage, then it's not just listen to me or whatever the show has to say. You come to our videos for kind of a conversation, an open forum. So join the discussion. Put yourself out there. Let me know what you think. Let us know what you think about these topics. Let's make that a part of the show too, not just, a one-way show from me to you, but, amongst not just ourselves. I want to be involved in that too. So if you could do that, I think it would it makes it better for everybody. So subscribe, like, tell a friend, and now we will move on to the last item on the agenda. We're going to focus our little shout out today on A&M soccer. 2 big wins last week. We talked about the win over TCU on Thursday, 2-0, which, by the way, Sydney Fuller, freshman goalkeeper, SEC Freshman of the Week. Congratulations to her. But also had another game Sunday, Louisiana Tech and Deja Vu, back-to-back with Taylor Pounds. Taylor Pounds here. This is Macy Matula on the cross. Pounds gets in on the end of it. That's a goal with 32 minutes to go. 1-0 A&M. And less than a minute later, I believe it was 55 seconds, Georgia Leb is going to end up with it just outside the box. Her cross goes through some defenders, and Taylor Pounds, 5th-year senior, gets 2 goals, her first career brace in the span of a minute, less than a minute. Texas A&M wins it 2-0 over Louisiana Tech. And with that, head coach G. Guerreri, who has been with the Aggies from the beginning, the only head coach in program history, becomes the 4th all-time winningest coach in NCAA history at the Division I level for women's soccer. Was asked about that at his Monday press conference, and this is what he had to say about moving into 4th place all-time.
Moving into places in all-time wins is more. I'm flattered by it. It's more about the staff that I have and the coaches that have been around me, the players that have played for us over the years. Those are the people who have done it. I'm kind of the captain of the ship, but it's all the people at the oars who are rowing, and all the people who have been around me. And it's there's a lot of great memories that have gone into all those wins and all the years that have been around us. Phil Stevenson's been a huge part of so many of those wins, and a lot of really, really great memories. So again, I talk all the time. I'm the luckiest guy and this again just kind of proves it.
Yes, shout out Phil Stevenson. He has been there for a minute as well. G. Guerreri, 514 career wins now. And I do think you got to give a tip of the cap. I'll be honest. Soccer is a program, and more specifically a team this year that I was a little worried about, with the 2 losses early to Denver, 3-2. You had another loss to Baylor, 1-0 on the road. But I think that the 2-0 win over TCU was huge for the confidence standpoint, beating Louisiana Tech, to be expected. But, like we said, you got to handle your business, and they did. And another thing I'll just point out, like that's kind of been unfortunate, I think this team has really been snake bit last few years with injuries. They had, I think Miley Hayes was battling some injuries at some point last year. She's your star forward. She transfers to USC at the beginning of the year. You get a transfer from the other USC, South Carolina, Shea O'Rourke, who 2 seasons there. She has, I just had it here, I think 6-7 goals in her 2 seasons at South Carolina. She's hurt for the year. So you're kind of putting a lot of your firepower with Shea O'Rourke, and she gets injured. Obviously, you can't plan for that as a coaching staff. And they just had to gut through it. And I was a little worried if they teetered, if they were just sort of okay in the non-conference. We get to SEC play, could be a rude awakening. But seems like they've turned the corner a little bit. Don't want to overreact. It's just 2 matches. But happy for Coach Guerreri. We'll see if they can keep this going, keep it moving. I also have to say I'm a little biased isn't the right word, but I've been here this is my 3rd soccer season. And I believe the year prior, they had a great year. Was not here for it. So me personally, I haven't ever seen this program or team clicking at its peak efficiency rate. So been kind of yearning for that myself. But I know that they've done that in the not very recent past. It hasn't been that long since they've been contending for SEC titles. So, and they're making the tournament and they're giving really good teams, really good games. Just got to see some of those, marquee top 10, top 5 wins on a consistent basis. That's what you'd love to see. So they're at Central Connecticut this week at UConn, and then they start up SEC play after that. So, and they're going to be on the road for a little bit for that as well. So we'll see how the Aggies do there. Congratulations to them. And again, Sydney Fuller, SEC Freshman of the Week, taking care of business with wins over TCU and Louisiana Tech. Because again, if you're new here, All In Aggies, we cover every sport on campus. Doesn't mean we talk about every single match, every single game for 20 minutes a pop, but we do try to keep you in the loop to know, hey, where are all my Aggie teams doing? How are they doing? How are they faring? What's going on? What do I need to know? What are the top line things that I need to be aware of? And who are these dogs coming up that if I don't know about them now, either I should or I'm going to? So that's all the time we have for you on All In Aggies, September 10th. Again, be sure to watch for us tomorrow. Potential double dip, 2-part special tomorrow, if we can work that out. And subscribe, like, comment. Let me know your thoughts on any of these topics. Is Moose Muhammad going to be a dynamic playmaker for Texas A&M, or is he just going to be kind of another piece in the receiving core? Are they about to unlock him? What else did we talk about? Is the defense, are we going to see one way or the other someone have an edge Saturday with the familiarity back and forth between those players and coaching staffs? And how about those Aggies on the pitch? Thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will talk to you on Wednesday.
All In Sports Network. We love sports.